NXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL-HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Hanny time. Hanny time. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Hannegriff.
And we welcome you into another edition of Handy Time 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff along with Mario Jerez, Taylor Sharp, John Hendricks from Boot Crew Media will be with us here in about 15 minutes. Also covering the Saints for the Saints News Network on Sports Illustrated. We'll have some things out of Saints camp as they get ready for the Steelers. At the bottom of the hour, Victor Howe called a game last night for the SEC Network for LSU against Kansas City for Matt McMahon's debut. He will be with us. And, of course, we'll take your questions near the end of the show. We are getting ready for our event tonight at BRQ, Red, White, and Blue at BRQ. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, so we're doing an event tonight. We're having a cocktail contest plus a couchon delay at BRQ on Jefferson Highway starting at 6 o'clock. All of our proceeds are going to benefit veterans suffering from PTSD. You'll have great food, some specialty cocktails. We're pairing veteran United States military veterans with some veteran bartenders to produce some specialty cocktails. We'll judge that. Everybody can sample them. The couchon delay goes along the whole time. Got some music. It's a lot of fun. We had a great time last year. We'll do that again tonight. I'll be emceeing the event, and again, it's for a great cause. So if you can make it in your plans to be out with us, you can get your tickets ahead of time at Eventbrite, or you can get them at the door, and there's parking available in the rear. A lot to get to today. So the news out of Arkansas, which is where we're going to start today, because to me the story of the rest of this week lies with KJ Jefferson. I'd like to tell you I've got more information now than we did yesterday, but the details have been pretty scant. Yesterday, Sam Pittman said that he is at practice. He is not really throwing, which matches sort of what he did last week. This is the part where a lot of guesswork is involved. We've seen a number of times this year, including KJ Jefferson, where it has gone all the way up to a game time decision. And by game time decision, we're talking about quarterbacks that have dressed, warmed up, and then not played. Happened to Jefferson against Mississippi State. So what he's doing in practice right now is anybody's guess. How he feels right now is anybody's guess. And we haven't seen any great fluctuation in the point spread, so there's no news leaking out. This could very easily go all the way into Saturday morning before we know anything for sure. So in the meantime, I just want to kind of give you an idea of what KJ Jefferson means to Arkansas and why this is so incredibly important. I told you yesterday, he's the straw that stirs the drink for Arkansas. First three games of the season, they were all wins, and it was not your typical September that is just littered with rental wins. They played a good Cincinnati team, and they also played a conference game against South Carolina in the first 3 weeks. He threw 6 touchdowns and only 1 interception, and he ran for 169 yards in those 3 games and 2 touchdowns. Then the game against A&M, which was their first loss. He threw 2 touchdowns and no interceptions in that game, and he ran for another 105 yards and a touchdown. But the play of the game, if you remember that game in Jerry World, was the fumble on near the goal line, I would say about the 2, maybe the 3-yard line, where Arkansas was going in to go up 2 scores, and instead Jefferson extending the ball fumbled. A&M recovered it. They had a lateral. They went the length of the field for a touchdown. They did miss the extra point, but instead of Arkansas being up 2 scores, it was a 1-point ball game, and it changed the trajectory of the whole game. Arkansas had really been in control to that point, and I believe that had they gone into the end zone there, they would not only have won that game, they would have won that game by more than the point spread. So that was sort of the first game where he got dinged a little bit. Then he left the Alabama game early with a blow to the head, and he was in the concussion protocol. That caused him to miss the Mississippi State game. That game, which two quarterbacks played for Arkansas, they lost 40-17. Then he came back against BYU, and he had his best game of the year. He threw for 367 yards and 5 touchdowns. But he got knocked around a little bit at the end of that game, a game that Arkansas controlled and won fairly comfortably. So then against Auburn, he threw for a touchdown and ran for 2 more, but he got banged up. And so that meant that when he came in against Liberty, and again, went through a practice week that was anything but normal for him, he threw 2 interceptions. That's twice as many as he's thrown for the entire season, and he only averaged 2.3 rushing yards per attempt. The mileage is starting to pile up a little bit on KJ Jefferson. He's rushed it 117 times this year, including 15 sacks. Arkansas is in the middle of the league in that category, and he's thrown it 222 times. Who knows how many times he's been hit or knocked down. These were the things that we were concerned about with Jaden Daniels at the beginning of the season. How many hits is he going to take? How many rushing attempts? Well, Daniels has rushed it 131 times. But if you watch Jaden Daniels run, he's very good at getting down and avoiding hits. He's very good at getting out of bounds and avoiding hits. KJ Jefferson weighs 242 pounds. He is and that is probably at somewhere in the area of 35 to 40 pounds heavier than what Daniels actually is at this point in the season. Daniels getting down, Daniels avoiding hits, Daniels going out of bounds if necessary has been a huge, huge key to this season, because if Daniels had taken as many of the physical hits as Jefferson has, frankly, I'd be worried about his ability to finish the season strong. As it is now, it looks like LSU has a pretty fresh Jaden Daniels. Arkansas has anything but a fresh KJ Jefferson if he does play in this game, if he does, play down the stretch. It reminds me a lot of what happened with Ole Miss and Matt Corral last year. Through 6 games, Matt Corral was a big, big part of what Ole Miss was doing in their rushing attack. He was averaging 75 yards a game, and he had that monster against Tennessee, that crazy game with the mustard and the golf balls and all that stuff. He ran for 195 yards, but he took a beating. And Corral's nowhere near as big as Jefferson. After that, his rushing attempts went down considerably to the tune of 5 a game. And after averaging 75 yards a game in the first half of the season, he never ran for more than 45 in the second half of the season. So you can see why the LSU had the concern that they did over Daniels' usage, because if you get hit that many times, and again, Daniels is nowhere near as big as Jefferson is, then it's going to take a toll. Even when you're as big as Jefferson, it's going to take a toll. So how much of a toll is that taken? Well, we probably won't know exactly until Saturday. But that's how important he is to their offense. Now, Malik Hornsby had to play in that game. Again, they used 2 quarterbacks against Mississippi State. He was 8 of 17 through the air for 234 yards. He threw a touchdown, but he also threw 2 interceptions. Jefferson has thrown 3 interceptions for the whole year. Hornsby threw 2 interceptions in that game. He did run it 8 times for 114 yards in that game. But I'll tell you this about Malik Hornsby. He's a sophomore. Jefferson's a junior. There's a difference between an upperclassman and an underclassman, and that difference is 56 pounds. Malik Hornsby is listed at 186 pounds. Jefferson is listed at 242 pounds. If you're going to run what they run, and you're going to run the quarterback, and Hornsby is a talented runner. He's got speed. He's got moves. I watched that Mississippi State game. He made some very nice runs. But if you're going to take a hit, the difference between hitting a 186-pound quarterback and a 242-pound quarterback, I don't have to tell you. It's the difference, the size of the Grand Canyon. So I'd love to be able to tell you that we've got an updated report on KJ Jefferson, but that's not the case. What we know is that, he's at practice and he is hurting and he does want to play, and they would love to have him because they need him. But I got to think that at the very least, Jefferson is going to be compromised in this game if he plays. we'll see. He could gut it out. You can always get an injection and play through the pain, and sometimes that works. We'll see what happens with KJ Jefferson. LSU basketball opened the Matt McMahon era last night with a 74-63 win over Kansas City. As you might expect, the first game there was a lot of sloppiness, but there was also some encouraging things. Some of the things I saw offensively, a lot of drive and dish. Justice Hill's got some game. And, early in the game, LSU was moving the ball real well. There were times where it was a drive and dish, and they kicked the ball around the perimeter, make that extra pass. For about 5 minutes there, they looked like the San Antonio Spurs. But then it got kind of sloppy, as you might expect, as they had to experiment with some different lineups, some different combinations, and the turnovers started to pile up. They would turn the ball over 15 times in the game, but they seemed willing to make the extra pass. There's a team concept there that looked pretty good. Adam Miller looks like the best player on the team. For a guy who hasn't played in a basketball game, a real basketball game in 20 months, he looked pretty good. He shot 6 of 14 from the floor and 4 of 9 from three-point range, which was encouraging to see. So Miller with a real good game in his first game, back in his first game at LSU. Mwani Wilkinson, who's the veteran on the team, looked to me, we'll ask Victor about this, he had a closer view, looks to me like, again, now an upperclassman instead of an underclassman, looked like he had put on some muscle, looked like he's filled out a little bit. KJ Williams, a very capable big. He played almost every minute last night, played 39 minutes last night, 13 points and 14 rebounds. We knew that Williams coming in here was an established player. And Trey Hannibal, he's aptly named because you think of Hannibal, you think of a guy who's courageous, right? Hannibal across the Alps and all that stuff. Hannibal is not afraid to attack the rim for sure. He got to the free throw line 9 times last night in only 18 minutes. I'm not going to tell you that he's the most prolific finisher from what I saw in those 18 minutes, but he ain't scared. So there's a lot to work with and a long way to go. Believe me. They went from 0 players to a full roster in a month and a half, and it's going to take some time. The pre-conference schedule is exceptionally weak, and for once, I'm kind of on board with that because this group's going to need some time to get everything together. So we'll talk with Victor Howell about that at the bottom of the hour, but just kind of an as-expected start, I guess, for LSU. Is just I'm not going to make any rash proclamations about LSU's basketball team right now. I got to see a lot more because I'll be honest with you. I've been watching since the Rudy Macklin days. I know less about this team than any LSU basketball team that I have ever covered or ever watched. How could I not? How could anybody? Okay. It's brand new. I mean, it's absolutely, this is iPhone out the styrofoam box new. So we'll watch as it goes along, but we'll get some first game impressions from Victor. The Pelicans win last night, 115-111. The really nasty road trip is now over. They played 6 out of 7 on the road. They had won 3 out of the 7 games during that stretch. They now get 6 games in a row at home. Wasn't the prettiest thing last night, but got to watch the last 8 minutes of the game in particular for the Pels to win, where C.J. McCollum shot the ball so poorly. He was 0 for 5 from three-point range and 3 for 13 from the floor. And to do that on the last game of the road trip to down in the fourth quarter, it was pretty much Brandon Ingram against DeMar DeRozan. You had some real back and forth there, and Ingram made some terrific plays, and the Pels made enough to beat the Bulls last night. And Ingram was very matter of fact with Jennifer Hale after the game on live TV, saying our defense is bleep. I don't want to get fined today. There's no reason for that. Just the bleeped out word, not good. And there were a lot of reasons for that. They allowed the Bulls to shoot 50% from the floor last night. But the Pels got to the line a bunch to win on a night where they shot 3 of 19 from three-point range, encouraging because they attacked the goal, and they got to the line 36 times last night in a road game. It's no small accomplishment. They shot twice as many twice as many free throws as their opponent attempted. So good win for the Pelicans. We will take a break. When we come back, John Hendricks will be with us when we return. We'll talk a little bit about the Saints as they get into their preps for Pittsburgh. That is next. Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Getting closer to the holidays, you're going to be looking for some supreme rice. I love rice dressing at Thanksgiving time. Rice dressing, one of my favorites. Make your rice dressing in any of your rice dishes for Thanksgiving and the surrounding events with Supreme Rice. You're going to support our Louisiana farmers down in Crowley, Louisiana since the 1930s. All of our Supreme Rice grown, milled, and processed in and around Crowley, Louisiana. It's easy to get. All of your AG food stores, all of your Rouses, your Costco's, your Walmarts, and your Rouses. You can stop by on game day if you're cooking up for the game this week, even though it's on the road, or tailgating for the final home game against UAB. You'll stretch your food dollar and get delicious product with Supreme Rice. For more information, unique recipes, go to supremerice.com.
Professional golfers John Peterson and JJ Colleen answer all your golf and life questions inside the new Drop Biscuit Studios podcast for the people. Download or subscribe today at dropbiscuit.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $11,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 72 months on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
There's nothing better than tailgating, but it can be a lot of work. So why do it yourself when you don't have to? Let Revelry Sports and Entertainment set up your luxury tailgate on campus. Order what you want and just show up to party. Book your tailgate.
Me, Jimmy Odd and Charles Henniger for the Thursday evening edition of Game Time presented by Bet Rivers. We're downtown at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar on north facing Town Square. Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. presented by Bet Rivers of 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Saints and the Steelers this weekend. We bring in John Hendricks, covering the Saints for Boot Crew Media and for the Saints News Network on Sports Illustrated. John, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, good. How about yourself, sir?
Great. Let me just start with the medical report, and I understand that there's some news at this point where the offensive line is concerned. So I'll just kind of let you give us the update on what we can expect for the Saints on Sunday.
Yeah, so first and foremost, I mean, Ryan Ramczyk, that's nothing to really be too concerned about. He's a familiar guy that, typically doesn't practice first day of the week. They rest him because of that knee injury. The concern, I'd say, would be obviously Eric McCoy. He's dealing with a calf injury. It was listed as a do not practice. Now, it was an estimated practice report, but based off of him leaving the game the way he did and the way he was limping and stuff, that's a big concern. I feel like we're going to see Cesar Ruiz on Sunday against Pittsburgh, but, Pete Anderson obviously popped up there with a triceps injury. So that's something to keep an eye on and monitor. We'll be at practice today and get a look at the team today and tomorrow. But, again, that's 3 starters that you're a little bit worried about. But of them that probably won't be in the lineup Sunday, that would be McCoy, most concerning.
All right, let's talk about the quarterback, Andy Dalton. Not all of this is his fault. I agree with Dennis Allen on that, but the whole game plan on Monday night just seemed pretty stale, and the quarterback is not electrifying or anything like that. So you tell me, what's Dennis Allen's next move, because it appears that he is reluctant to make that at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think he's going to ride it out with Andy and see what happens. But I think it's one of those decisions that, on one hand, Jameis being fully healthy will be a good thing. And if Andy doesn't do well in this one, maybe he turns back to Andy Dalton. I mean, maybe we see some things. No, I don't know. But right now, this is a team that has to win football games. Look, I think they should be favored against the Steelers. But I'm telling you, they lose this game, I feel like there's a lot more that they're going to lose. They can lose the locker room, maybe. They can lose a lot of different other things. I get, mathematically you're still in this division race. And look, I don't think Andy's done a horrible job, but on Monday night, they sucked on third down. They sucked in the red zone. I mean, when they got there, they just couldn't move the football. I mean, it's just not football that you want to see. And, it begs the questions where we're sitting here. Would Jameis have done better? Would Taysom have done better? Why is Taysom's usage not there? Why is Rashid Shaheed not getting any touches? Why don't you run the football more? I mean, there's definitely a lot more, but it's not just Andy. It's coaching, it's play calling, it's all the things that get magnified when you lose a game that badly.
John Hendricks is our guest. John, this is a little bit of a big picture question, but so I'm just going to ask you for your opinion. Would the Saints be playing this differently if they were in another division? In other words, would they be playing a little bit more for the future? If they were in any other division, this season would be over. There would be such an infinitesimal chance to make the playoffs that it wouldn't even be worth looking at. But because they're in the NFC South with still a chance to win that thing, get in the playoffs, are they playing it differently? Would they be playing it differently if they were in another division?
I mean, I don't know. It's one of those that it's just to say hypotheticals, but I think this team isn't built to say, let's tank, especially with the guys they have on this roster. I mean, they're legitimately going out there and trying to win football games and such. And so, I think it's been a big shock for them. You're looking at this is the worst start they've had since 2005. I mean, this has been a long time since they've been this bad. And even in the 7 and 9 years, they at least got back to 500. They at least crawl out of an 0-4 hole or a 1-3 hole and get to 5-5. Whatever the case may be, and have a shot to make things happen. But right now, you look at the schedule, I mean, it's tough to find optimism, even though you are playing some teams where you feel like you could beat it when they're not playing complimentary football. So, look, I don't know, because you don't have a first-round pick next year right now unless something changes with Sean Payton. And, you got to make some decisions on some aging guys. Maybe you move some of them that are under contract if you don't have to eat a lot of money on a team that may be able to compete. But, I think the Saints always, the way they go about it, and we're not really doing a rebuild, we're retooling, call it what it is, because I think they have some really good young pieces to build around. But they're just going to have to face reality that, they're going to have to build it differently maybe not go after the high price flash free agents. Get some mid guys, get some guys that can really help you on the roster, because these injuries have just really been fluky this year, and it's not because of the training staff. It's just been a bad luck, and that's kind of the whole season. It's just been bad luck.
What's your opinion of Taysom Hill's role in the offense in this previous game and what it might be moving forward?
Yeah, I don't like the fact that they're not using him. Again, you come off a game where he's pretty effective and such, and, look, Seattle is super effective, and I don't know whether it's just teams just are expecting it or they don't want to call up his number or what the case may be. But, look, I think he's a guy that is a weapon, and you got to get him involved, and things weren't working on the ground with Kamara. But the problem is the way they were playing football, you got 12-play drives that you're giving up on the opposite side of the football, and, you go 3 and out, or you run 4 or 5 plays and you have to punt. There's just so many things that happen that, it kind of goes to the play sheet and you're like, okay, maybe I got to do this or that or a couple of other things. And so, but I think his usage should be up, and I think 25, 30 snaps a game, or at least half of them, I think he should be in and be effective in it. But, for whatever reason, it wasn't the case. I expect it to be a little bit more against Pittsburgh because, they're going to get TJ Watt back. That offensive line is probably going to have to be patched up this week a little bit. And even with the guys that are playing, there's probably some injury concerns there, I'm sure. But, look, I think the usage should go up a little bit. And, he can find soft spots in the holes to hit and such. And so I think it's a recipe that you got to use, but I just don't understand why they don't consistently use them as more, or why 1 week we see less and then 1 week we see adequate usage.
John, Marcus Davenport, the scouting report on him for his entire career has been, listen, when he plays, he can really flash and get some things done, but he just hasn't been able to stay in the lineup. This year he has been able to stay in the lineup, and we haven't seen the kind of production we always imagined that there would be if Davenport was ever to stay in the lineup. You got a theory as to why?
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of almost and stuff, and he's playing. There's some plays where he's just absolutely dominant and physical. And look, he commands a lot of double teams. He does. This is a guy you got to account for, and he's very good at what he does. And again, it's one of those that you look at the analytics. Analytics might be more favorable to a guy that doesn't get as many sacks or anything like that. But it's just one of those that, hey, it is a contract year. It's a contract year for him. It's a contract year for David Onyemata. There's a lot of the guys defensively that are in this contract season, and it would be in everyone's best interest that he does perform well. But for whatever reason, that just hasn't clicked as much into success. And he's had some stuff taken away by penalties and all this other stuff. But this is an area where I think you just got to wait and see. And this is the midseason point or past the midseason point. This back half of the year is a chance and opportunity for somebody like him to really come out and show what he's got, because he's not just doing it for New Orleans, he's doing it for other teams, all 31 other teams.
John, we appreciate your time. I know you got to get to practice. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk with you soon.
Sounds good. Appreciate you, man.
John Hendricks with Boot Crew Media and the Saints News Network on Sports Illustrated. We'll take a break. Victor Howell, when we come back, he called a game last night for LSU basketball. That is next. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
So many business owners having problems with staffing. Listen, it's a lot of work between interviews and background checks, your payroll expenses. It would be fantastic to have somebody to take care of all this legwork so that you can get back to doing your job as a manager. Tiger Labor and Staffing will take care of all your screening, all your training, all your payroll, all your employment expenses. You won't have to deal with the fact that maybe, 30%, 40% of your interviews won't show up in a given time that they're supposed to. They can handle the interview process. Tiger Labor and Staffing will also handle the onboarding, which is particularly time consuming. Whether you need somebody for a day, a week, or a month, you can control your labor expenses. This will help you out with your flexibility. If you need seasonal employees, as we're getting into the holidays, they can especially help you there. And you lower your risk to employment with the higher option at only 60 days. That's the lowest in the industry. Tiger Labor and Staffing welcomes skilled and unskilled labor. They'll match you with a job that fits, and there's quick turnarounds on pay. Tiger Labor and Staffing. Success begins with the eye of the tiger. Go to tigerlabor.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big V and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7.
On Fridays, OTB, it's Football Friday, and the Tigers are getting ready to take down the Hogs. Plus, is there any hope on the horizon for the Saints? How did the Pelicans do in their return home? Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LSU opened their basketball season last night, men's basketball, with a 74-63 win over Kansas City. Matt McMahon, in his first game as LSU head coach, Victor Howell, was on the call for the SEC Network last night. Victor, good afternoon. How are you?
Good, Charles. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Just some overall impressions of, first time out. I said earlier in the show, I know less, things about this basketball team going in maybe than any team ever that I can remember at LSU, because it's just everything is new. So just give me an overall idea of what you saw last night.
Lots of raw talent, certainly a work in progress. Love the enthusiasm by Matt McMahon. I love some of the things he breaks down, some numbers I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment. But having seen their shoot around, watching the way he has those guys, the pace he works them, it's going to be a lot of fun. There's no doubt when you go to the Maravich Assembly Center this year, you're going to need to get a program on more than one occasion to get to know everybody. Heck, I think McMahon might be doing it too, trying to get to know everyone other than the three players he brought over. But as we mentioned a couple times on the broadcast, there are a lot of tools in the toolbox. He's going to put the system together. A lot of young guys with some experience that they need to work on. The older guys can certainly help carry that load. Miller being one of them, of course, he played at Illinois and had to sit out all of last year. But there is certainly a lot of talent for McMahon to build off of when you consider this is a coach that's had literally nobody when he first got to Baton Rouge and now has a roster of 17.
I want to start with Justice Hill because he's the guy that makes this thing go. There's a lot of drive and dish last night. He's got a floater in the lane that he made a couple of those, so liked what I saw there. There were some turnovers, but and the one 3-pointer he made was the heave at the end of the half. But it seems to me that they're going to run an awful lot of stuff through him, and he's going to be a real catalyst. I mean, he's a point guard, so obviously, but he was really involved with a lot of stuff last night.
Yeah, driving the offense and leading the way. He finished with 7 assists, and yes, he had 3 turnovers, which was the most on LSU's team. They had 15 as a team, but when you look at what he did on the positive side, 7 assists, and he also had 4 steals. So there's 4 extra possessions, courtesy of his defense, led the way with 7 assists, and that's something that McMahon talked about. He wanted to do it at Murray State. He was telling us yesterday when we had a chance to do a Zoom call with him last week and then at shoot-around yesterday about his percentages of what he wants. He wants to see at least 50%. Well, on their made field goals last night, LSU made 24. They are assisted on 16 of them. So 67% assist rate for what they did. That's right in his wheelhouse, what he wants to see. And Hill certainly is going to be the catalyst. Very, very strong for his size, speedster. He might try to thread some passes that might look back on and he might want to take back, but it looks like with the risk-reward, you'll at least what we saw early, you'll see more rewards from the risk that he took. But he certainly had a good game in his debut at the point guard with 13 points, 7 assists, and 4 steals.
I thought it was encouraging that Adam Miller, playing for the first time in 20 months, had a very strong game out of the chute. I mean, I can imagine his anxiety going in, has been so long. Anxiousness maybe is a better word, but I thought he looked really good for a guy who hadn't played in a while.
Every bit the sharpshooter we've heard about, McMahon will tell you. His nickname is Ace. I saw him at the shoot-around, Charles. He sat in that corner where he hit his first 2 threes last night. He hit 9 in a row before he missed. Then he hit 7 in a row before he missed again. I agree with you. The nerves were there. He hasn't played in 20 months. He's finally getting on the floor and get a feel for it. He was 4 of 9 from three-pointers and hit half of LSU's threes last night, but he is going to be every bit as good as the build-up, and I only see that confidence getting better because if he just has a slight opening, that ball's going up, and he is deadly from the outside. It's going to be fun to watch him develop, get his game legs back under him, get his confidence back under him, and getting back on the floor, against opposition. But, yeah, he's every bit as he was touted a year ago. It's good to finally see him get back out there, and he didn't look Charles, he didn't look hesitant at all doing anything last night. He's got that sleeve on his leg, but in terms of defense, diving on the floor early in the ball game, LSU had a shot clock violation, then a 5-second violation. He was diving on the floor for the loose ball, so he certainly wasn't showing any hesitancy with that injury.
KJ Williams, the big that came over from Murray State and was the Ohio Valley Player of the Year last year, had a double-double last night. He came in with he's the one player that made one of the preseason all-conference teams for in the SEC. So we were expecting big things out of him. I liked what I saw last night. And then, Victor, I looked at the box score after the game. It's like, man, he didn't come out. He played 39-plus minutes. Yeah. So I thought we might see a little bit more of a rotation early in the season. You tell me about Williams, but I was also a touch concerned we didn't see any of the backup bigs very much.
Yeah, I don't think Coach McMahon's plan was to play him for 38 minutes or to play Adam Miller for 34, but you got to give credit to Kansas City, a team that struggled to get to 56 and a loss to Lincoln, comes back down here and gave LSU a bunch of fits with some of the runs. And I think those are some things that they opened up LSU's eyes up to work on. For instance, some defensive rotation, way too many opportunities in the paint for a team like Kansas City where LSU has much more size. KJ Williams, you asked specifically on him, he is thick. He's every bit of his 6'10", 250 frame, but he can take it to the outside. He's certainly one of the on-floor leaders with Justice because of their experience coming over from Murray State. But I think he's going to be fun to watch. I believe he was second team, I think, all-SEC preseason pick. He had no problem battling on the inside. I know he was frustrated on some of those layups that didn't go in on second, third opportunities, but he also drew fouls, to get him to the line. As you mentioned, the 14 rebounds as he was pounding. He'll need some more support on the glass, but It was good it was nice to see him in person, having been the reigning Ohio Valley Player of the Year, to see his talents down here. He'll be fun to watch. And let me add this, Charlie, too. Of the three players, I want to tell you who I was most impressed by, even though the numbers might not stand out to you. But Trey Hannibal came off the bench at 6'2", 215 at the guard. He finished the game. He had 7 points. He had 8 rebounds. He has no fear driving to the lane. He took it up. I know everybody, if you watch the game or you saw the highlights, you probably saw the play. He came down the left side on a break, and he went behind his back off a spin, put the ball behind his back, and then laid it up on the other side of the rim. What you need to do is back it up about a minute and go watch the play before when he had an attempt on a putback and basically jumped over a guy and missed a one-handed slam attempt. But that impressed me almost more than the loop-de-loop with the one-on-one on the layup. He has no fear. And, you know, they now, Charlie, I know you've seen it on box scores at the end, on official box scores. They not only show you the fouls that you had, but they show you the fouls that you drew. He drew 5 fouls. He played 18 minutes, drew 5 fouls on Kansas City, went to the line. He was 5 of 9 from the line. Look, I know 7 points and 8 rebounds may not be the one that stands out, but he wasn't a starter. But coming off the bench with his size and his lack of fear of attacking the glass, I think he's going to be something special for LSU in the 6th or 7th man role, playing the guard position and attacking the rim. I was very impressed with what he did. He was the 4th leading scorer for Murray State. 3 of the top 4 scorers are here in Baton Rouge that came with him. He was the 4th leading scorer for Murray State. But I think he's going to offer some great support for LSU's bench.
Yeah, he ain't scared. That was
not at all.
That was what the term I used at the beginning. He is not scared at all. Hannibal's a good name for him. I think of the general that fought the Romans. You know, they moved the elephants across the Alps. Mwani Wilkinson, I noticed 2 things about him last night, Victor. Number one, he looks like he's put on some muscle. And the second thing is that he is a more relaxed and confident shooter, where Wilkinson's percentages last year were fine, but he didn't shoot very much. He had to be open by himself, and then he would put it up. He looked like he was more of a catch-and-shoot mode last night.
I agree with you, and my question that I have to go back and watch the game film again is the question is, where did he go? Because we did a feature on him at the 5-minute mark of the first half, one of those when you come back from commercial, hey, let's take a look at what he's been doing. And he was 3 of 4 from behind the three-point line, and I believe he was 3 of 5 overall at the time we did that. Well, he finished 3 of 7. So you're right. He started out hot. He looked confident. He hit those corner threes. He had a really good defensive play that led to a fast break dunk for LSU on the other end when he contested a one-on-one break, didn't draw the foul, and LSU turned it around. But I'm just wondering, when you're at the 15-minute mark into the first half, you're 3 of 5, and your 3 field goals are all 3-pointers, and then you only take 2 more shots the rest of the game. Somewhere in there, I lost where 5 went. You know, why he wasn't more involved when he was so involved early. I don't know if that was a rotation thing. He certainly didn't play as many minutes as the transfers that came in from Murray State. But yeah, his experience will certainly help. One of the 3 guys that did come back from LSU's roster. But for last night, I'm just not sure where he went after he hit those 3 shots. I don't know if it was a confidence thing. Maybe he wasn't finding a shot. He was in the rotation. I wish I had a better answer for you. I just haven't seen the whole film yet to go back and see what happened to number 5.
That's a reasonable question. Okay, they've got a game coming up again on Saturday against Arkansas State, and then UNO next week. So, look, Arkansas State's going to be a step up from Kansas City. What's realistic? What do they need to work on? What's realistic progress to be expected here? In what they got a handful of games before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing they're going to have to work on is defensively. One thing they yell at shoot around, and I mean they yell it all the time, is the word pace. He likes to keep that pace up. They never sat down. They never took a break. But even when they were running through their plays, whether it was offense or defense, they were talking about pace. McMahon will tell you that everybody likes that up and down where you might shoot, 10 seconds, 12 seconds, that quick offensive pace. I think he said last year for a team that went 31-3, they averaged like 18 seconds of possession. But you don't have to be fast to be good. You just have to have smart pace in terms of the offensive movement. Early in the game last night, their ball passing was very crisp. They had a zone defense moving. They had them jumping. That's why they got those open threes. Latter part of the first half and for much of the second half, they struggled with that offensive pace in terms of the crispness in the passing. There were a lot of possessions, a lot of dribbling, maybe one pass and a shot, and we've seen that offense over the years and, with different coaches and different scenarios, and that's not one for success. On the offensive side, Charlie, I think they're going to work a little more of that on the consistency. But on the defensive side, they really worked in the shoot-around yesterday getting ready for the switch. He is not going to play zone. It's going to be, if you see LSU playing a zone defense, you know there's something going on that he has to make a massive adjustment because Matt McMahon's a man-to-man guy. They're going to play man-to-man defense. They're going to get in your face in a lot of rotations. They worked on it yesterday, and for some reason they had a lot of gaps, and it was lost. Maybe it was just first-game jitters. Maybe it's finally seeing somebody else with officials and lights and a crowd, in a different colored uniform. But there are a lot of rotations that they missed where, example, if there's somebody coming off a high screen, the big man would hedge, which means you step out to try to distract the point guard, slow him up for a second, then you as a big man go back down to your guy. Well, that hedge was 2, 3, 3.5 seconds long. By the time they got to their man, either the pass was already past them or the defense was having to rotate. Now you're a man short. And Kansas City took advantage of a lot of that. When they had that big run in the second half, they were getting into the lane, and then when LSU was sagging, number 5 for them, Shamani Allen, started hitting this couple of threes that got him back into the game. So I think for on the defensive side, they're going to have to work on not exposing themselves so much in the interior. They gave up 26 paint points last night and the openings in the lane. But they've got a couple games before they then go to the islands for a tournament. I know Celeste, he always brings a good team with UNL. It will be a step up, UNO rather, excuse me. It'll be a step up. And we'll see if there's some other players that get in the rotation. Jalen Reed's a young guy who's a freshman. His dad was an all-SEC player for Ole Miss. He got in the game last night, but I know a lot of people were looking for Tyrell Ward, who played at the Matha, a nationally known high school up there in Maryland. Didn't hit the floor last night. I believe Coach said afterwards it was really a coach's decision. I think he's just trying to work on some of this and see how these guys play in different rotations. So look for some of these newer names to come in, work in those rotations, and defense really protecting the paint and having better rotation.
Yeah, Ward was a very highly recruited player, so we'll see when they can get him in. Hey, not a bad crowd for football season last night, huh?
I thought it was a great crowd coming in for the first game, and they stayed to the end. Of course, Kansas City gave you a reason to stay to the end when they made it close till LSU, pulled away there. But nice crowd, great environment. It's always great when you get a win, and certainly for Coach for his first win. And a lot of the bigger news, Charlie, right now, I know everybody's riding the wave with Brian Kelly and beating Alabama and what's on the verge for LSU football, and you should. Look, right before they played the game, he got papers on 2 players for next year, both 4-star players, both ranked in the top 100 in the country. One guy's name is Curry Chest, a 6'8", 210 guy who used to be from New Orleans. He's now in the state of Missouri. He was ranked the number 1 player in New Orleans for Louisiana for next year's class, moved to Missouri to change schools for one of those basketball-focused schools. He's now number 2 in that state. And then he got the papers from Mike Williams out of Baltimore, who's also ranked in the top 100, and he's a 4-star guard. And, oh, by the way, if you hadn't heard, Kim Mulkey on the women's side is putting together a steamboat and just signed the number 1 class for the women's basketball for next year. So football's doing great, but basketball's coming alive here in Baton Rouge. It's going to be a lot of fun in that building.
Victor, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us, and we'll talk with you soon.
Always, Charlie. Enjoyed it.
Victor Howell calling the game last night for the SEC Network. We'll take a break, take some of your questions when we come back. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Big Mike's starting the weekend on Thursdays. Got karaoke going on tonight in Denham Springs. Friday night, tomorrow night, Clifton Brown with the live music. And on Saturday, it's Petty Betty music. Lineup this weekend, live music every weekend at Big Mike's. Of course, you can go by and watch the games. Great atmosphere to watch both college and pro games. And, of course, on Sundays, you can happy hour drink prices all throughout the day for NFL football as the Saints take on the Steelers. Tomorrow night, the first round of the high school playoffs. If you are out and about watching games and you want to eat late, the restaurant is open late after high school football, ready for families to come in and enjoy the evening. So Big Mike's, again, karaoke tonight, Clifton Brown tomorrow, and Petty Betty on Saturday. Happy hour drink prices on Sunday for Saints and the Steelers on Aspen in Denham Springs. At Big Mike's, we're kind of a big deal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I am Juliet, daughter of Marguerite, granddaughter of Gabriel Piera. I come from a line of strong women who knew struggle and success too. Still, I was scared by my breast cancer diagnosis. But I had Blue Cross coverage, which meant I got care from top doctors. I'm strong like my mother, and her mother before her. The right card, the right care.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 60 months on new 2022 Ford F-150s. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Enter now for a chance to win a catch and cook fishing experience from the Louisiana Charter Boat Association with me, Chef Jay Ducote, winner of Beat Bobby Flay. Register now at gocatch.com. That's GEAUX catch.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online.
First round of the Prep Football Playoffs, and we get started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview, presented by the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Then join us at 10 p.m. for the Lake Urgent Care Total Occupational Medicine Louisiana Prep Scoreboard Show on YouTube, Your View, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Sad moment when we found out yesterday, or actually this morning, that Fred Hickman had passed away way too young. Fred Hickman, who worked here for a time in Baton Rouge, made his name as a national sportscaster with CNN. If you were a fan of ESPN in the 80s and you got kind of a little bit put off by some of the things that they did on SportsCenter back then, it became a little bit too, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit too much slapstick, and you just wanted straight line sports. Nick Charles and Fred Hickman did the best. They did SportsCenter better than SportsCenter did SportsCenter. This is back when CNN had a sports department and CNN didn't evolve into what they are now. You have to think of what ESPN was designed to do, which was provide sports news in a quality reporting manner and what they would become. At that time, ESPN was a little bit scattershot. Hickman and Charles were great. They both passed on now. They both passed. Nick Charles passed away years ago, and also very, very young, and Hickman passed away yesterday. He actually came and worked in Baton Rouge, WVLA, for a number of years. I didn't know him, but I was a very big fan of his, because in the 80s, when cable television was exploding and cable sports news was exploding, Charles and Hickman were the best. I mean, they were before. And a lot of ESPN's anchors got their start at CNN. Dan Patrick started there. Gary Miller started there. Hannah Storm started there. They cultivated a lot of talent, a lot of really, really good. Jim Huber, who was there, was very, very good. and a lot of those people made their way to ESPN. Hickman was great, and gone way too soon. I was just a huge fan of Fred Hickman and Nick Charles when they were doing the sports on CNN every night. News out of Washington is that the Attorney General is suing a consumer protection lawsuit against the Washington Commanders, their owner, the NFL, and Roger Goodell. See, I didn't know that they could do this, because if I'd have known, I'd have been lobbying for them to do this when John Meekum owned the Saints or when George Shinn owned the Hornets. This would have been very, very useful back in the day. I love the fact that they're suing Goodell, just because I'm not a big fan of the commissioner. But this would have been really helpful back in the 80s with the Saints when Meekum owned the team, because you want to talk about malpractice as an owner. Well, he had it. Not as bad as Snyder, but they were the thing says colluding to deceive district residents. They were colluding to deceive Saints fans for years. They kept saying they'd have a good team. Question out of the chat real quick on how many wins for LSU basketball in the league. 7 or 8 would be realistic. We'll see how they do. Red, white, and blue at BRQ tonight at 6 o'clock. Stay tuned for Hunt Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
And continue to buy my vehicles from Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge. A certified pre-owned program includes up to 6 years unlimited mileage warranties, a first-year basic maintenance complimentary, 3-month trial subscription to satellite radio, emergency roadside assistance for your older drivers that you're going to be in a bind if something happens roadside. Your younger drivers, it's invaluable in that instance. Complimentary service courtesy vehicle. If you have to drop your vehicle off to be serviced, you don't have to wait around for it. You don't have to arrange for transportation. Transparency in pricing and a family atmosphere. It's why we continue to go back time and time again to Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.